Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to continue the closet wine series by making some chocolate peanut butter mead using a traditional mead recipe, and then in secondary we're going to be adding chocolate and peanut butter flavorings to taste, possibly have to back sweeten it as well. But first we're going to do our traditional mead, which is basically just honey, water, yeast nutrient, and tannin. And I'll show you how to get that going right now. Of course, first thing you want to do is practice safe brewing techniques. So use a Star San sanitizer or some sort of sanitizer to make sure your fermenters are sanitized. I'm also going to be using Lalvin QA23. This is a pretty good yeast for mead. Of course, there's all kind of wine yeast you can use, and there's also yeast that are made for meads that you can use. The natural flavorings, it comes from Brewer's Best. I got these off Amazon. This is the chocolate, and then they have the peanut butter. We won't be using these right now. They'll come in after primary fermentation is finished. We're also using Nate's honey. This is a Georgia honey. I have used orange blossom honey, and it's really good as a mead. But for this mead, we don't really need the citrus. So this is just a good mead that's raw and unfiltered is what you want. And of course some spring water. Now if you got good drinking water at home, you know, you can use your own water. I like the spring water for the mead. Sometimes I use filtered water from the tap, but for mead I'd rather use the spring water. And then of course some wine tannin. This is from Vintners, and this is available on Amazon as well. And some Fermento Yeast Nutrient. So with honey, there's not very much nutrients for yeast, so you're going to need some yeast nutrient, whether you use DAP, Fermate K, Fermate O, or something. You're going to have to use it to get the most out of your yeast. So we're going to start with 2.5 pounds of honey. I'm just going to add it on this. We've got a scale here that'll read up to, I don't know, 50 pounds maybe, 30 pounds. But anyway, it's already ready to go. So we're gonna, and of course you can heat your honey up a little bit, get it easier to flow. These are 2 pound bottles, so it'll take more than one. Take 1.5 of them. But you ain't probably not gonna be able to get all the honey out real easy. But that's fine. I know there's 2 pounds in this first bottle, so whatever I got left right now, we got a pound and 11 ounces, pound and 12 ounces. So I got about 4 ounces left in here. So I'll just, let's see, 2.5 pounds. So I need a 1/2 pound. Let's see, 2.5 pounds would be 2 pounds 8 ounces. So I need 2 pounds 4 ounces. And then I'll get the water and rinse this up. Now if you're a little off, that's fine. This is 2 pounds 4.5 ounces, which is fine. And we'll take some water and rinse out this honey, if y'all can see okay. Just fill it. I know we're going to use a good bit of that water, so we'll fill it up, shake it up, get all that goodness out. You might have to do it more than once. We got a little bit in there. I'm going to do it one more time. Like I say, you can heat this up a little bit to help get the wine, the honey mixed up good. that should be good. Now we're just going to fill up this till we get about halfway. And then get it off the scale. We don't need the scale no more. I'm needing that. Fill up about halfway, that way when you start stirring, stir. And just like wine, you want to add a little oxygen in here. There again, the yeast will get that honey if you don't mix it up good, but we can't get a good accurate reading on our hydrometer if you don't mix it up good. Let's say mix it for about 5 minutes, but I ain't had no issues with just a good stir. And then we'll fill it on up about where we want it. It won't be quite a gallon. We're about right in there. It's probably good. You can see there's a little bit left in there, maybe a pint. And we'll stir that up good. And now we need to get a hydrometer reading so we'll know basically how much alcohol we want to have in this. The last batch I made was 1.110 with 2.5 pounds of orange blossom honey and this much water. So the honey could be a little bit different on the value of it. Some of it's sweeter than others, depends on where the bees get their nectar from. So if you never made wine or mead, I would suggest going on Amazon and getting a kit. And usually with these kits, you'll get a bunch of chemicals. That's what they are. It'll come in a little bag like this. It's a winemaking kit. It'll come with a bucket, some stuff to get started with. It'll come with a hydrometer. Usually it'll come with a graduated cylinder. I bought this one because it's smaller. I didn't like the big one. It come with a 200 milliliter. It might have been 250. It was huge. I didn't like taking so long to fill it up. So I went back and bought a 100 milliliter. And you can see this thing's riding pretty high in here. Just tell me that honey's pretty sweet. Let me grab my spectacles. If you've never used a hydrometer, there's videos out there on how to use it, how to read it. Some people read it from the specific gravity side. Okay, so the blue right here is 1.100, and then you got 1.1 below it, so it's going to be pretty close to, it's about 1.108 is where it's at, or thereabouts. I mean, you could add another ounce of honey and get it right on 1.110. And then on the back side of the scale, you also have a, well, on the side you got a 0 through, I can't even read that, 15, 20%, that's your potential alcohol. So that's reading about, let's see, I can't even read that. It's reading about 15% roughly. And that's a good scale. 13 to 15% is what you should be looking for. So now we're going to add 1 teaspoon of fermento and a half a teaspoon of tannin. So I've got a half a teaspoon of tannin. And with fermento, you can, or yeast nutrient, you can add it as soon, right now, today, or you can come back tomorrow after it starts fermenting and add it. So there's a half a teaspoon tannin. That's going to give you that mouthfeel, that typical wine mouthfeel. It's got the bitterness to it. Without it, it's not going to really taste as much like wine as you think. And then 1 teaspoon of fermento. It ain't got to be exact. That's typically what I use for a gallon. And this has gotten chunky on me, so there's Fermado is an organic yeast nutrient versus DAP, which is an inorganic. And then we'll stir this up best we can. This Fermado, it ain't gonna dissolve right off the bat, but neither will the tannin for that matter. But we'll get it stirred up. Let's see how dark that tannin's making this. See, the Fermado's just kind of floating on top. That's fine. And then we're going to put the whole pack of QA23. If you've got any other kind of wine yeast, you're welcome to use it. It doesn't really matter. I would not use bread yeast for mead. You could use bread yeast. It's going to end up being a lot sweeter, and it's probably only going to get down to about 8 or 9% alcohol. So this QA23, it should go to 15–16%, so it's probably going to go completely dry, and then we'll stabilize, back sweeten, and flavor it in secondary with our peanut butter and chocolate flavorings. And we'll just have to play around to see basically where we like it. The only thing left to do is make our notes. Today's 8/12 of 22, and our OG, original gravity, was 1.108. Which if it goes completely dry will be about 14% or thereabouts. So when we get done with it, it'll probably take a couple of weeks. We'll come back, we'll stabilize it, we'll back sweeten it with some honey, and then we'll flavor it. And I'll bring you back for you in 2 seconds. 2, 2. All right guys, it's been about 8 days with this mead. She's doing real good. Layer of foam up here, got a good layer of leaves down at the bottom. Probably another week, should be ready. Alright everybody, welcome back. I know just for a few seconds for y'all, it's been 18 days fermenting this. And I showed you just a second ago at 8 days, we had quite a few bugs in our airlock. You can see them floating around in there. It's very important, I didn't mention this to start with, to use either sanitizer solution or a neutral distilled, like vodka or brandy or some kind of liquor in here that will kill bugs. Don't just use plain water because they could possibly swim through it and get out. But this sanitizer is acid based, so it will kill them. And it's amazing to me how many got through this top. So this thing's very small. I mean, it's too tiny. So there's quite a few in there. I'd say 5 or 6 that got through there and got into that water. So hopefully none got into the mead. But anyway, I was going to show you my setup over here for sanitizing using Star Sand. I've got a 5-gallon tote here, and I put 2.5 gallons of water in it, about a half of an ounce of Star Sand. Just follow the directions, and you see it's foamy. So Star Sand foams, especially when it's fresh. Don't worry about the foam. And then I take my stuff, I keep it in this little tote here, take it out, throw it in there, you know, do a little bit, and then put it here to dry, as well as the fermenter and the fermenter lids. Some of these lids, like this one, the seal is under the gasket, but a lot of them's not. So a lot of them I just throw in here like this. These are all for my gallon size fermenter. So I got the seal here, I can clean both sides, and I got the lid. And so we'll stick them in here, and we'll just let them soak. This not a big deal there. And then on your air locks, I do like the kind that's got the lid, the top here, that keeps the big bugs out anyway. We'll stick that in there. Sometimes they don't come with one, like this one. And you can also get them like this, which I don't like these kind. And right now we've got gnats flying around here, so it's going to be real tricky not to get a gnat in our mead as we rack it. So there's another one that don't have. I'm just going to that airlock in there for right now. So I've got a few things to go in this secondary. It's potassium sorbate if we have to stabilize. My little kit came with this little bottle, and I'm just about out. So I ordered that, and that was the best price, best deal. I've also got some Camden tablets. This is sodium metabisulfite, and this for oxidation and it's for oxidation control mainly. And then of course our chocolate and peanut butter flavorings. And the directions on these say to start with 1 ounce per gallon and then move up from there, to taste. So the first thing we're going to do is rack this into that vessel over there. And to do that, we're going to need to elevate this above that. So I'm going to set up a bucket right here and we'll get to racking. So right now I can go ahead and check specific gravity of this. It's really no need to because the airlock is done. So to save some time, I'm going to go ahead and set this on top of the bucket and get my racking tool ready. You can just take some plastic tubing and pull vacuum suction on it if you want to. I don't particularly like that method, so I want to say this racking kit here come with that wine making kit I purchased. That was like $100, but it came with a 2-gallon bucket, hydrometer, this, that, and the other. A lot of stuff that you had to buy separately probably would have ended up being, that price anyway. All right, so we want to be real careful when you're moving this, you don't stir up so much sediment. Put this about halfway down, pump it until you get a full flow, and let it roll. Alright, so that's going to be good enough there. We're going to get all that crap in here. We're definitely going to end up ragging it twice. You see how much headspace is in this jug, so I don't like that either. But so now we're going to take a quick hydrometer reading. I'm pretty sure this is going to be at least, at most 1.000. It could possibly be even less than 1. We'll say 1.000. So we have gone dry. Not totally dry, but pretty dry. And now we need to taste. Well, we need to taste. I always like to go ahead and just take a little sample of it, because people's tastes are different. Now I know this is dry, so it should be dry, but if it tastes sweet, then I know I don't need as much honey. Very alcoholic, extremely alcoholic. We're definitely going to have some honey in this for old show. Let's see, what was we at? 1.108, and so it went dry, so 0.108 times 131.25. It's a little over 14% right there. You could add some water actually and bring the level up and dilute that down to about a 12 would be pretty good. Now we're going to go ahead and stabilize this. So, that's not very good, to be honest with you. It's not like that last I made with the orange blossom. So take your Camden tablet, put between 2 spoons, and crush it as fine as you can get it. Now 1 Camden tablet is good for 1 gallon. We have less than a gallon here, right? So you don't have to add it all. I'm going to leave a little bit off, just to keep from getting bitter. And then on the potassium sorbate, which the potassium sorbate actually prevents yeast from multiplying. So it basically makes them inert. So potassium sorbate is 1/2 teaspoon per gallon. So I should have let's see, 1/2 teaspoon. Have enough of this left for this. Alright, so not quite a half teaspoon. Alright. And then we're going to stir it. And since we're going to have to sweeten it, I'm just going to stir this in. I'm thinking about if I had some, I don't have any of that water left. If I had some water, I might add a little bit of water to it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, I've got some bottled water. This is not spring water, but it is purified. So I'm going to add some to it and bring it up. We're going to lose a little bit of alcohol, but you still going to have a good bit of alcohol. So not even a whole bottle of water. You're still going to have 11–12% alcohol. It's not going to be that big a deal. Like I said, if you had that big mouth bubbler that holds 1.5 gallons of stuff, you could easily put 1 gallon of water in here to start with. We didn't quite have 1 gallon, so it just is what it is. And I don't like having that big head space. And 14% is really more alcohol than. And we're going to sweeten this thing up, so it ain't going to be that big a deal. Alright, now some people's going to say you need to let it sit 24 hours before you back sweeten it, because the yeast could reactivate before the potassium sorbate has a chance to deactivate the yeast. It's up to you. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put it in here. We're using basically the same honey that we used to make it. It's the Georgia. I actually bought some more, but this is what I actually used in here. Was that right there. Get this out there. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to start with about that's 1 gallon, maybe 1/4 pound. So 4 ounces of honey. We'll try 4 ounces of honey. So what I've done is I put this on my scale, tared it out, and we'll just pour out what I think is 4 ounces. And as we go, I know that ain't 4 ounces, but I'm gonna have to do something with that. That's 1.6 ounces, but I'm gonna have to leave this cap back on here. Alright, let's do this right here. Alright, let's try that. Shoot. Yep. 2.9. Right. 4.1. That's close enough. Let's go with that. We're gonna taste it again. We're just gonna taste a little bit. We're not gonna pour a whole beaker full. And when you're stirring in secondary, try not to oxygenate. You don't want to splash. So just stir. Keep your stir in the liquid at all times. Try not to splash too much, but you want to get as much as you can out. Now we're going to take a little sample. Need some more. So we're going to put 4 more ounces in here. I like mine Mead a little on the sweet side. Alright, that's 8.4, so that's a little more than 4 ounces. That should be plenty for what we want to do. Well, if you stayed around with me this long, I want to invite you to go ahead and subscribe if you hadn't. Leave a thumbs up if you find this interesting or you like the content. Thumbs down if you don't. It's fine with me. Anything, any thumbs up or down will help me in the YouTube algorithm to reach more audience. So I would appreciate it. Even if you don't subscribe, I appreciate it. But if you are subscribed, thanks. All right. Now we'll try her again. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it right there. Oh. She's still a little bit alcoholic, but that's fine. Man, that honey's good. If you don't like honey, don't make mead. Okay, now I got to cover this up. I'm gonna wash my hands right quick. I'll be right back. All right, hands are washed and sanitized. Now it says to add an ounce of each. These are 4-ounce bottles. So I'm gonna just say, let's see how much they weigh. All right, so without the lid, they are 4 ounces or 4 fluid ounces. Oh, I need to tear that out. So basically it's 4.8 ounces. So we want to go 3.8. Right? We want to get down to 3.8. Just a little bit more. Man, it smells good. I smell the chocolate. And then again, that was 1 ounce of that. Again, this is 4.6, so we're going to go down to 3.6. That's close enough. Alright. Stir, stir, stir. Man, I can smell this chocolate peanut butter. Oh Lord. Ooh, I hope it tastes as good as it smells. If you like chocolate peanut butter porter, that's what we like, and that's what inspired me to do this mead. Is chocolate peanut butter is some of our favorite flavored beers. Oh, definitely got the peanut butter for sure. The peanut butter is definitely overpowering the chocolate, so I'm just going to put just a little more chocolate in here. That's probably enough. The peanut butter is pretty potent. Try that. I'm definitely, that peanut butter is just boom, just in your face. So I would say easy on the peanut butter, a little more heavy on the chocolate, maybe an ounce of chocolate, half ounce of peanut butter. We're gonna go a little more. What's that? That's 3.1. I think 2.8. There it is, 2.8. So that's 2 ounces exactly of the chocolate. So 2 to 1. I think that's the ratio I'm gonna call 2 to 1. Now that's my taste. That may not be your taste. And if you don't want to do the chocolate peanut butter, if you just want to make the mead, you know, you see, you know, that's basically how you're gonna make the mead anyway. So you can do any kind of flavorings. You could, in secondary, you could add all kinds of stuff to flavor this mead. Peach puree to make a peach mead. I'm still tasting more peanut butter than I am chocolate. That peanut butter is very strong, but it don't taste bad. It's a good taste. So I think we're gonna go with that. Now if everything worked right and your potassium sorbate killed your yeast, so the yeast is not eating any of your honey up, you shouldn't have to worry about an airlock, but things don't always go right. So I would recommend using an airlock even on secondary, just in case it does start up again. You don't want to, explode your fermenter. That's about it. So we're going to let this sit until it clears out. Should be another couple of weeks. I'll bring you back and we'll bottle it. All right, everybody, today is the 15th of September. It's been quite a while since we flavored this. It's probably been 3 or 4 weeks. I don't even know. I'd have to go back and look. I've lost my notes. But I do notice that this is under a negative pressure. This water is down here, this is up here. So when I crack this open, this is going to equalize. And there it went. Now why is it under negative pressure, I don't know. Hopefully nothing bad's happened, but it's fairly, it's not clear because you can't see all the way through it, but it's not bad. It looks like 1.020, which will be pretty sweet. I can't drink all this, so I got to fill my bottles up. It smells peanut buttery. It's a young mead, so it's going to have a little bit of that youngness to it. I think after about 6 months this will be real good. It's definitely, peanut butter is predominant. Might be a little bit of chocolate on the back. It's just got that little hit that young mead will give you when it ain't smoothed out yet. Not very alcoholic. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm going to just go ahead and pour the rest of this in here, since this is all been sanitized. And we'll grab our thing. All right, so we're just going to rack. This will be the second time it's been racked. We racked it over to this, and then we'll rack it into here, and then we'll bottle it from the pitcher. And the bottling's very similar to racking, except you got a bottling wand on the end of this tubing that will stick in the bottles. But for racking, we'll just do it like this. And I'm going to try to keep it out of that bottom as good as I can. It's fairly clear, but there's some cloudiness on the bottom of this. Put this higher. Now when you're racking with the bottling one, you got to push down. There's a little valve in the bottom of this thing, and then you got to kind of get it started with one hand. That's the only. But once it's started, you can just leave it, and then when we fill these bottles up, we want this liquid to come all the way up to this little line right here, and when we take the wand out, it'll be down right at the bottom of the neck, and that's where you want it. And there it should be. So we got 8 ounces left. I mean, that ain't enough to worry about putting a 12-ounce bottle in. It might be 10. That'd be 10 ounces. But if it was more than 12, I'd do a 12-ounce beer bottle and be done with it. But this is going to be good enough, so this is what it turned out, guys. I think it's going to be pretty good. I'm going to drink the rest of that. Like I said, we done kind of did a tasting. In a few months, I'll bring you back. We'll crack one of these open around Christmas time and New Year's. We'll see what it tastes like. Maybe do a little video again. Until then, thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe if you haven't.